Now we are moving on to permanent tissue. Now what did we talk about permanent tissue is that permanent tissue is the basic difference between meristematic and permanent tissue is permanent tissue do not divide. What happens? It has already the meristematic tissue, they grow, they mature, they differentiate into different types of permanent tissue. So they have a specific function to perform. So permanent tissues are basically of two types. So let's note that also. Specific function to perform. They are mature. Okay, they have gained their growth and they are mature so that they can perform the specific function for the plant. Fine. Now the permanent tissue are basically of two types. So what are these? How can you note it as? These are the characteristics. The common characteristics of permanent tissue. That is, they do not divide, specific function to perform, and they are mature. Okay. Now coming to types of permanent tissue. Permanent tissue can broadly be divided into two types. One is simple permanent tissue, another is complex permanent tissue. And complex permanent tissue. The name itself is giving you an idea. Simple and complex. Complex means there must be something more, difference or something difficult in it, or more than one must be. Okay. So coming to simple permanent tissue, again, depending on its function, there are two groups of, in fact, simple permanent tissue. So the first group is protective. So the word itself is giving us the idea what is its function. Okay. And the next group is supporting. So here again the word itself, the name itself is giving us the idea what the function of the supporting tissue must be. Okay. Now the protective tissue, the example of protective tissue is epidermis. The epidermis seen on the leaf. Okay, that is the upper layer or the lower surface layer of cells. Okay, that forms the epidermis. So if you touch the leaf, you find it a little waxy. Why? If we drop a drop of water on it, you'll see it is falling down, doesn't stay. So that waxy layer protects the leaf from getting too wet. If it gets too wet, it will rot, isn't it? So it is epidermis, and the lower epidermis in the leaf also have some special cells called guard cells, which have a special structure, bean-shaped structure, so that it can form an opening through which gaseous exchange takes place. So epidermis is very important. Okay, so let's see the epidermis. What are the features of the epidermis? It is thick-walled, why is it thick-walled? Because it is just like a guard, isn't it? Like we have a guards standing at the gate. It is a time of crisis, coronavirus, lockdown, and the guards will see that nobody comes in, isn't it? So therefore, they have thick walls. And where are they found? They are found on all surfaces. Surface of roots, surface of stems, surface of leaves. Okay, so this is the location where surface of leaves, roots, as well as stems. This is the location of protective tissue. Okay. Example, epidermis seen in the leaf. Okay. Now coming to supportive permanent tissue. Supportive permanent tissue are of three types. Now, as I name them, you'll feel that I don't know what Latin ma'am is speaking. Okay, so doesn't matter after you hear it a number of times or you learn the spelling, you also will get used to pronouncing these words. So the supporting permanent tissue is of three types: parenchyma, Parenchyma and Sclerenchyma. Parenchyma, Parenchyma and Sclerenchyma. To start with, let's talk about parenchyma. Now coming to the supporting simple permanent tissue, we started with the types, that is parenchyma, Parenchyma and Sclerenchyma. Now the characteristics of the parenchyma cells. It is spherical, more or less rounded in structure. It is thin walled. The cells are thin walled. You can see the drawing. I've drawn a cross section of the cells. Okay, that's why I've written CS. It is a cross sectional diagram. So here you can see that the cells that I have drawn are more or less spherical and the outline is a thin outline. Okay, so thin walled, large intercellular space. Intercellular, that is between two cells. So between two cells you find these empty places. Okay, this shows the large intercellular spaces. Fine, they are living cells. Parenchyma cells are living cells. Now, where are they found? The location. It is found throughout the plant body. If you see the plant body, the soft parts of the plant body, it is found inside the plant body, everywhere throughout the plant. Fine. Function. Its function is photosynthesis, as because if it has chlorophyll in it, it may also perform the function of storing food, as you see in potato, mostly the edible part of the fruits, the apple, the potato, okay, all these, they are parenchymatous cells. So, they store food for the plant. It is also buoyancy. The last term here is buoyancy. Buoyancy means the ability of something to float, okay, because of buoyancy. If you talk about a lotus plant, you see the plant floats in the water. Why? Because of the buoyancy provided by the air that is present between the parenchyma cells. They are also given some special names which you don't maybe not having in your class 7 syllabus, but just for your interest I can tell you always. That is the cells which perform photosynthesis, the parenchymatous cells. They are called Chlorenchyma. Chloren. Chlorenchyma. Chlorenchyma. And the cells which provide buoyancy, having air within their cells. The parenchymatous cells having air in it is a special feature called Parenchyma. E-R and then continue. Okay. So parenchymatous cells or chlorenchymatous cells all are actually parenchyma. Fine. Now moving on to the next type of tissue, supporting tissue, collenchyma. Here what we see, the cells are elongated. You see the circles because I have drawn it in a cross-sectional view. If I draw in a longitudinal view, then you'll be able to see that the cells are long, elongated, uneven, thick corners. Now if you note, what you'll see the corners are darkened and the other parts are thin. So they have uneven borders or walls. They are thickened at the corners. This is the main feature of collenchyma cells. Okay. Now, little intercellular space. There is very little intercellular space, very little empty space between two cells in collenchyma. They are also living cells. Like parenchyma, collenchyma is also a living cell forming the tissue. Collenchymatous tissue. Okay. Where it is found? It is found in the petiole. Where have we studied about petiole? In the leaf. Okay, the leaf stalk. So it is found in the petiole of the leaf, and it is also found in the veins of the leaf. So remember the veins, these lines, these are the veins, the midrib and the veins. So the collenchymatous cells are found both in the petiole and veins of the leaf, and also in some young stems. It is also found in the young stems. Now, what is its function? How does it help the plant? You must have seen on a windy day the plant sway, but it doesn't break off. Okay, it is because of this. Because it provides flexibility and a mechanical support to the plant. Fine? Fine. Now to the third type of supporting tissue, that is sclerenchyma. Okay, sclerenchyma. Now it is long and narrow. So it is long as well as it is very thin, narrow, thick wall. Now if you see the CS of sclerenchyma, you'll find I've drawn very thick outlines. Why? The wall of the cells are equally thick. Here what we saw, thin walled. Here we saw thickened only corners. Here thick walled cells, no intercellular space. So they are thick and they give a lot of support to the plant, mechanical support. They give rigidity to the plant. So therefore they do not have, because of the thickness, they don't have any space left, no intercellular space, and they are mostly dead cells. Okay. Now coming to where it is found, they are the mature parts of the plant, like the bark. It is not barking of the dog, please. Bark here is the outer most dry layer of a stem. If you see very old, big trees, the trunk of the tree, if you put your hand on the tree while talking to your friend, maybe standing in the park, you see the upper part layer of the trunk has come into your hand, a little woody. So what is it? It is the bark of the plant. Okay. So the bark, the wood, we all know furniture is made of wood. So they are all mature parts of the plant, and they have which kind of tissue in it? Sclerenchymatous tissue. Okay. Now what is its function? So as it is thick walls, it has a lot of strength in it. So it gives mechanical and structural support to the plant. Okay. So it will be easy for you to learn if you learn like a table form and in this way comparatively. Okay, please make this table in your notebook and learn accordingly. Make these diagrams also. I had little space, so I made here. You can make it down there. Okay, make squares and draw the diagram. Fine. So this is simple permanent tissue. So now we revise quickly the simple perm. First, let's start right from the tissue. Tissues, group of cells, similar in structure but performing a specific function. Okay. Next, two types of tissues, plant tissue and animal tissue. Plant tissues again of two types, meristematic and permanent. Meristematic, growing cells form meristematic tissue. Permanent cells, that is matured cells, form permanent tissue, matured and for a specific function. Now, permanent tissue again can be divided into two types, simple permanent and complex permanent. We are finished with simple permanent tissue. Simple permanent can be grouped in two parts, that is protective and supporting. Protective is the epidermis, which is thick wall, gives protection to the plant, okay, found in the epidermis of the leaf. and all the surfaces of leaves, roots and stem, everything. And therein, now coming to the supportive tissue. Supportive tissue are again of three types: parenchyma, collenchyma and sclerenchyma, and thereon we studied about them. Now we move on to the next type of permanent tissue, that is complex permanent tissue. So now talking about the complex permanent tissue. The difference between simple complex and simple permanent tissue and complex permanent tissue is that simple permanent tissue is made up of one type of cells, as you saw in parenchyma, collenchyma and sclerenchyma. In complex permanent tissue, the tissues are made up of different kind of cells. For example, xylem and phloem. These are the two types of complex permanent tissue, and they are made up of four kinds of different cells. Okay, so the xylem is made up of four kinds of different cells. Phloem is again made up of four kinds of different cells, all working together to perform one special function. What is the function of xylem? The function of xylem is to transport water and minerals that the roots are absorbing from the soil to the leaves. So the movement of the substance in the xylem is always upwards, only in one direction. Okay. Phloem, the function of phloem is to translocate or to conduct the food that is produced in the leaves to the other non-green parts of the plant. Fine. So here the flow is bi-directional, that is it has to move up, down, sideways, fine, to send the food to each and every, supply the food to each and every part of the plant. Okay. Now talking about their structure and the type of cells with which they are made up of. Xylem. Xylem is made up of four types of cells, as I said, names being tracheids, vessels, and to support them they have parenchyma and xylem fibers. Now parenchyma does the work of storing the food for it. These xylem fibers, okay, like threads, tough. So they give the support to the cells, that is tracheids and vessels. Tracheids are finer and vessels are a little broader. So both of them work like the pipelines. The work of a plumber at a home. They fix the pipes here and there, and wherever they fix the taps, we can, get water from there. Fine, it's the same thing. These are the pipelines inside the plant. Okay, now they are made up of many cells. Now if one cell ends and the other cell starts over it, and if there is a partition in between, will the function be able to be performed? No. So what happens? The partitions between two cells get dissolved in a xylem. Okay, so the cells are placed end to end and the partitions are totally dissolved so that very smoothly the water can rise in it. Okay, now in phloem, what happens? Here also the phloem also is made up of four types of different cells. They are the sieve tubes, companion cells, phloem parenchyma and phloem fibers. Here also the parenchyma and fibers, parenchyma and fibers supporting it and storing food. Fine. The sieve tubes are companion cells. They do the actual transporting of the food. Now in the sieve tubes are placed end to end, but the partitions between these cells, the sieve tubes, are not totally dissolved. The partitions are still there. Now you question me, ma'am, then how come the food is supplied? It will get stuck within one cell. How it will go to the next cell? So the partitions have perforations in them, in the sieve tube. Perforations mean small holes in them. Now these perforations are present in the partitions between the sieve tube cells, and they are called sieve plates. Okay, now because of these perforations, the food can easily get translocated or conducted or transported. Fine. Now talking about the structure, how do the cells look like in a xylem and in a phloem? So in the xylem, the cells are thick-walled, dead cells. They are placed end to end. As I said, one cell is the other cell is placed on top of the first cell. Fine. Partitions between cells dissolve to form long channels like pipes. Fine. Now phloem, the structure, it is living. This is dead, often dead, and this is living. Tubular cells, long, tube-like. Partitions between cells perforated. Okay, I told you perforated means having small holes on them. Lined with cells having nuclei. So there are sieve tubes lined are placed end to end to form the passage for the food, and beside them there are the parenchymatous cells and the phloem fibers. Okay, those cells have, the parenchymatous cells have nuclei in them. They line them up. Okay, now what is the function of both? Function of xylem: transport water and minerals from roots to leaves. So the flow is upwards, only in one direction. Unidirectional flow, only upwards. Now function of phloem: conducts food from the leaves to all the parts. Okay, and it is bidirectional, that is upwards as well as downwards. Okay. So this is all that you need to know about plant tissue. Okay, let's revise quickly. Tissue, group of cells, similar in structure to perform a specific function. Two types of tissue, plant tissue and animal tissue. Today we studied about plant tissue. Plant tissue, broad two types, meristematic and permanent. Meristematic tissue are actively dividing tissue present in the growing tips, growing parts of the plant, helps it in growing in length or in width. Okay, thickness. Permanent tissue, they are mature, grown cells and they have a specific function. They are differentiated into different groups to perform a particular function. Now, permanent tissue are broadly of two types: simple permanent and complex permanent. Simple permanent tissue is of two types, that is protective and supporting. Protective, epidermis; supporting, parenchyma, collenchyma, sclerenchyma. And in simple permanent tissue made up of one type of cell. Complex permanent tissue made up of more than one type of cells. For the two types of complex permanent tissue, xylem and phloem, made up of four different kinds of cells. Xylem mainly transports water and minerals from the roots to the leaves. Phloem transports food from the leaves to the other parts of the plant. Okay. Now I'll be giving you some questions. Kindly see the video again and again. Try to understand. Read the book if you have the book with you, and then answer the questions. Learning spellings of the new terms, new words is very, very important. Okay. Happy learning.